we can only kind of do this and take the Chiefs and, kind of push them to this part of the room. But eventually we're going to have to take them and throw them out of the room.
Sitting at the bottom of the AFC West, and it doesn't look like they're getting any higher.
It's weird because I don't want to say that we're stunned that they're not quite as dominant as they've been, because there were some signs in the Super Bowl, obviously. And then it bled into the regular season. The start, okay, it's early, but they still have one of the best actually statistically, the best offense. And, well, we know the defense isn't that good, but, Mahomes, he's great enough, and Reed, and they'll figure this thing out. And here we are, T, getting ready for, Halloween. Next time these teams play, it's going to be Halloween outside of Thursday of this week to jumpstart Week 8. And there's 10 teams with either as many or more wins in the AFC than the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
They're a mess.
They are a mess, and their defense isn't helping them at all. Last year we talked about their defense a little bit. They hold, and then they're good enough when they have to be. They were middle of the road, so it could overcome any mistakes. But they didn't make a ton of mistakes last year, BT. This year, Pat Mahomes is second in the NFL in interceptions, which is insane to think about because of how good he's been over the first 4 years of his career. And now all of a sudden you see him pressing. If you watch game tape, there's no one getting open. I mean, the Travis Kelce's and the Tyreek Hills, these guys that just seemingly were always running free somewhere. They're never available. And Pat Mahomes is trying to improvise. And when he improvises, he's making mistakes, fumbles, and turnovers, and that's going to cost you games against good teams. I mean, maybe this is the case of other teams just kind of catching up, understanding how to defend them, drop 8 defenders, maybe bring 3. If you're lucky, bring 4, and force Patrick Mahomes to find a wide receiver as opposed to having someone running free. But it's a little bit worrisome now. Mm-hmm. Right, we're 6 games in. It is 7 games in.
It's worrisome.
It is really worrisome now that this is not an easy fix for a superstar quarterback to get him back on track.
Yeah, let's give the coaches some credit here. You had a few months to get in the lab and take that Super Bowl film, and we referenced it was really the antithesis of what we thought they would do. We thought they would just blitz
what
Todd Bowles did in the Super Bowl. They wound up, dropping it back, and as we talked about, now just dropping guys into coverage where nobody's running free with their arm up for that 80-yard gash play, and you got to take things underneath, and Mahomes is getting a little bit frustrated. He's looking for the big one even when it's not there. Watkins is not there, so they lost him. They've,
maybe Sammy Watkins was an X factor. We talked about that earlier.
I know.
Oh, you're really missing Sammy Watkins? Apparently, yes.
I guess. But, what I think is even more interesting, not that they can't, listen, they're going to have some drafts here on defense where, if you want to look at the Chiefs for the next 3 or 4 years, put this year aside. If this is to be an outlier season in the great career of Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid together, and let's say they go 8-9, 9-8, whatever it might be, right? Yeah. Make the playoffs, don't make it, get bounced early, no real run, nothing inspiring, right? They're going to have to pop on some serious defensive draft picks, and they're going to have to really recalibrate things here. But even if they're able to do that, the problem now, Teak, is you got Josh Allen, you got Joe Burrow, you got Patrick Herbert, you've got Lamar Jackson. Who knows what the Steelers do? They might have Aaron Rodgers next season. You don't know. The Dolphins might have Deshaun Watson.
That's right.
So things are really changing.
Yeah.
I think for a while, most of the league didn't have the firepower to keep up with Kansas City. That was one issue, and they didn't know how to defend them. Now they kind of know how to defend them, and they've got more firepower.
Yeah, I agree with you. Here's what so there's 2 things. We can talk about defense all day. They're no longer the worst defense in the NFL. They're still down at the very bottom, but they're no longer one of the worst defenses in the NFL.
Did my team take the reins after giving up 560 points, 54
I think you're right.
yards, and 54 points to the Pats? Right. I'm going to bury them later. Don't even waste my time now. Keep going.
But you could focus on the defense just isn't holding up their end of the bargain. Yeah. Tennessee's D is good. They had 67 yards at Kansas City Chiefs.
That secondary is actually bad. Tennessee's defense. Because you said it's good.
I said their defense is okay, but really they win because they control the time possession. They Derrick Henry and they keep you off the field. But you're right, BT. They're not great. They held Kansas City to 67 yards of offense in the first half. 67 yards. I don't think you would ever see that. I mean, obviously they held them, mostly scoreless too, only giving up 3 points on the day. But at the end of the day, to me, I watched like the play construction, and I'm trying to figure out is this all Pat Mahomes? Should we be looking at Pat Mahomes' ability to read defenses? And it's not. There's nobody getting open. Like, these guys are sticking. There's always a whole defender, meaning an extra defender somewhere. And Pat Mahomes is lost. He doesn't know what to do with the football. And because they don't have a run game, there's no way to take advantage of the teams that drop all these guys into coverage. And so I think there's a patience thing involved here, not just forget on the field. I'm talking about from Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy's standpoint. Sometimes you just got to run the football. Yeah. Right? And commit to it and do some zone reads or, pop passes to your tight end. Things to get easy yardage. Because by not doing that, they're setting themselves up for second and third and longs, and all of a sudden we know what play call is coming out. And guess what? So does the defense. And they just can't be effective and explosive. Now, they're leading the league in third down conversion. So that belies the fact that they can't stay on the field, right? 57% is astronomically high for a third down conversion percentage. But it's less about that and more about mistakes and inefficiencies and just, I don't know. It's hard to put your finger on it. This is I don't even know what to say about this.
It's incredibly disconcerting. And I think what I would say now is it's gone from, this feels really foreign to, I'm not stunned. I am stunned that they didn't score a touchdown. I mean, keep it real. By the way, Derrick Henry had more touchdown passes than Mahomes.
Yeah.
Just let that resonate for a moment. Derrick Henry had more touchdown passes than Mahomes.
Right.
There was a point, I know there were many different iterations of Tiger Woods because he had 3 or 4 different types of swings. Multiple caddies, a lot of injuries, a lot of moments where he was coming back and people wrote him off and he was done and he wasn't done or vice versa. But there was a point, and I don't know that I can fully identify when it happened. Probably if I really dove into it, I couldn't. I really, tried to. But just for the sake of keeping this football, I will use the Tiger Woods analogy to illuminate how I feel about the Chiefs right now. There was a point in Tiger's career when I went, no matter, he could be down 3 shots, 4 shots, he can shoot a 75 on a Thursday. That's Tiger. Tiger's good. Not worried about Tiger. Tiger's going to be there on Sunday. Tiger's going to win a major. And then all of a sudden, that conviction morphed into hope. And then the hope kind of morphed into almost despair, like sadness. I'm not there yet for the Chiefs because Mahomes is too young to be sad about.
Yeah.
But that belief that this thing is just going to flip, 2 weeks, we're going to laugh about this, is nonsense.
Yeah.
Their flaws are inherent, and they're going nowhere this year.
No, they're not.
They are winning nothing.
They have such a steep road. And you mentioned this briefly, BT, to climb back into this conversation just in the AFC.
Yeah.
I know, obviously Baltimore and Cincinnati now has the number 1 seed if the season we're in now, even though they have the same record.
And once you flip that order there, big guy, why don't you say Cincinnati first?
Cincinnati.
The head-to-head matchup.
That's right.
We'll get to them next.
That's right. Cincinnati.
Pumped.
I'm just looking at the rankings on Pro Football Reference. Baltimore's still sitting number 1. I think it's alphabetical. But it should be obviously Cincinnati because they've won the head-to-head matchup. Tennessee is good. They just destroyed them. They scored 27 points in the first half, and
they beat the Bills prior.
Exactly, and so they just kind of coast it. So Tennessee is good.
Yep.
Las Vegas seems to be on a resurgence over the last couple of
give them props.
Weeks. You got to give Versace props.
Yep.
The Chargers. They're not going anywhere anytime soon. So, and then you throw the Bills in there. So it's almost like, okay, Kansas City. Maybe they can find themselves, but it's not going to be easy to go claim home field advantage or
advantage.
That's what
they got no chance to host a game.
There's 10 games left.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Think about this.
They're not going to. I'll make a bet right now. They're not hosting anything. Maybe a blood drive, a food drive, Toys for Tots. They ain't hosting a playoff game.
I'm just saying this. There's 10 games left, and if there's a team that potentially could go 10-0 over the next 10, it would be the Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously they have a tough schedule other than the Giants, who might challenge.
Told you Giants could win.
Yeah, you're right.
I told you they were going to win that game.
The Panthers are garbage. They are so bad. 3 points they scored.
I know.
Then they have Green Bay, Raiders, Dallas, and then a bye week. So it's tough to their bye week.
Yeah.
But my point was, I don't see them being in this vaunted advantage like they've been for the last couple of years. 14-2, they were a year ago. Having home field, a day of rest, time to prepare. Let's get to the Super Bowl. I don't see that in their future. And so the question will be, what's the mettle of this team? Right? Can they fight through this adversity? And then more importantly, when they're the underdog, it's easy when you're the favorite, right?
And front running.
Yes, when you're front running, everybody's trying to catch up. What are they doing? How do we stop them? But now all of a sudden it's flipped. Now they're like, well, what are these teams doing? How do we catch up? It's a different scenario that they're going to have to navigate, and Pat Mahomes is going to have to navigate as he tries to get through this turnover slump that he's in. 17 turnovers, BT, already in the league. That's number one.
That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. Yeah, I'm kind of reluctant to do it because the team they played yesterday was a JV version, but even the Patriots are showing signs of becoming more in lockstep with their ultimate identity. Like they're growing toward becoming more of what I'm sure Belichick envisioned them to be.
BT, it's hard to score 50-plus points in the NFL.
No question. Yeah, right? I agree.
And I know that the Jets are playing like a JV team right now, but they still scored 54 points.
And they could have scored 60 if they wanted to. I'm with you.
They pulled the starters.
I know. I got you. But the Chiefs have only, because this goes back to what we said before, there's 10 teams with either as many or more wins than the Chiefs right now. So that creates a real logjam. And for a team that is clearly going in the wrong direction, I mean, you're going to have a month of play against good teams, by the way, that they have not yet put on film in 2021. So that's very hard to latch on to unless it's blind faith, which I'm not a huge believer in, unless, of course, it comes to my football team, which is all I have is blind faith. But they had beat nobody this year. They beat the Browns, they beat the Eagles, and they beat Washington.
Yeah.
Washington's 2-5. Eagles stink, and they might have the wrong coach. And I will give them credit, when they played the Browns, it was week 1. They were a lot healthier, and the Browns obviously were a different team than they are now. But they have not looked impressive all season.
No, you're right.
The Chiefs.
You could argue they've lost to the good teams in the NFL, but aren't they supposed to be the best team?
That's
in the
what
NFL?
everybody said. And that's what they put out for a couple years.
They are not that team right now.
No, they're not. And the next 4 games, my dad's birthday's early September. Giants.
Yep.
Okay.
That's Monday night.
You better hammer them. Yeah, you better. Green Bay, Las Vegas, and Dallas. And I mean, I know we live in a world of hot takes, and I'm not trying to dish one out today unnecessarily or whatever, but I just don't see this team regenerating. I don't see Kansas City doing anything. We're not talking about them in December as a team that can win the Super Bowl.
You're seeing potentially 1-3 over the next 4 before the bye week. I could see that. I could totally see 1-3.
And at best 2-2.
Yes, that's right. And so they go into their bye week at 4 and 7. 4-6. 4-6.
I mean, that ain't good.
That's not good at all.
That is not good. So we shall see. And by the way, this takes...
How quick the mighty fall. Man.
Well, this takes away some of the joy. Now, it adds to the intrigue.
Yes.
But it definitely aesthetically takes away from one of the greatest... Think about this. If you say, all right, what's been the best part, independent of fandom, like forget it, strip that away for a moment. Like the most enjoyable part of the NFL the last decade or so, maybe even more. I myself, I mean, you could say, well, Brady's somehow still, I mean, from a team point of view, I would say for myself, sitting down and watching when the Chiefs are humming offensively, there's been nothing more beautiful.
That's right.
For my eyes.
That's right.
And now it's gone.
They are a fun team to watch when they're on all cylinders, clicking on all cylinders. They are not, and it's so ugly because of the disappointment. Right? You're expecting this beautiful show, and all of a sudden we get turnovers and improvisation that turns into more turnovers, and it's just ugly.
Not a touchdown.
I mean,
not a touchdown.
You couldn't have paid me to bet that way.
Tig, I would have put $50,000 on that.
No doubt.
Honestly, like if somebody said, I'll give you a $50,000 bet, they won't score a touchdown. I would have put $50,000 on the table.
Who wouldn't? Seriously.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell to be notified when we drop fresh content.